Thank you, Dower. Thank you to the partnership. Thank you to Venable and Small Business Administration, Capital One, and everybody who's made this possible today. It's been great seeing the people up here talking. My presentation will be something completely different. I don't have the snazzy graphics or anything. I come to you as an entrepreneur who was an expert in his field. Well, still am an expert in my field. I know bicycles. I know bicycle retail. I've been doing it for 18 years. And in 2009, 2010, I thought it would be a great idea to open up a bike shop in D.C. And as Dower read, our mission is to get all kinds of people out having fun, making bicycles part of the culture, growing a culture. If you notice, none of that what I just said had anything to do with licensing and permits and anything like that. So I think this is fairly typical of people who come into DC or people who are here who want to open a business. They're pretty darn good at what their field of expertise is, whether it's food or retail or what have you. They've done the research. I was out all winter, sitting in a borrowed car, counting foot traffic on rainy Sunday afternoons, trying to figure out where would be the best place for my bike shop. And eventually I found the place, and it was empty. It was an area that was slated for redevelopment. The bottom had fallen out of the real estate market. So it looked like we could get in there. We could spend 5 years there before the economy picked back up and investments started flowing again. And we found this place. It was 4,000 square feet, and I lined up all the funding I needed to get it going, pulled the trigger, signed the lease, and got in there, and really didn't know what I was doing from the administrative side of things. So first thing I found out was I needed a business license. Fine. Okay, what do I need for a business license? Well, I got to have a certificate of occupancy, the infamous C of O. So I did some research, and I had heard about the D.C. government from the past. You know, I've been doing business in D.C. for 20 years, you know, as an employee for other companies. And I had heard about the DCRA and how they have these expediters, and I thought, you know, I don't even want to get all wrapped up in that. I'm an expert in my field. I just want to do my thing. I put all my trust in the hands of an expert. And I found out there's these third-party inspectors, and we thought, okay, well, let's call one of these guys in. They'll tell us what we need to do to bring everything up to retail code and to open. So the guy comes in from Warrington, Virginia, says, takes a look at the place, says, all right, you just need to clean up some of these wires here and just basically clean it up and it'll be good. So we're thinking, okay. And actually it took like 2 weeks to get that response. Meanwhile, we signed the lease, and I had rented an apartment in town, so it's like all the money was going out. We're paying rent. There's no income coming in. And this thing had taken 2 weeks to get that answer. So we're 2 weeks into it. We're $4,000, $5,000 down in terms of rent and money out. So then we put an ad out on Craigslist, because where do you look for a contractor who knows retail? Well, I don't know. Not my business, right? I just want to open up this shop. So we put an ad on Craigslist, and meanwhile my partner and funding source came down. We started to try to clean up the wires. I opened up the electrical box. And before you know it, this was over at 5th and I over here. Somebody had snuck in under the garage door and stole my partner's laptop out of his messenger bag. And he's the kind of guy who has like 100 windows open, and if his computer shuts down, it throws him back for a week. Well, this put him out of it for 2 or 3 months, where he's trying to recover from that. So there's me, a CPA, trying to get a shop open in waters that I was completely unfamiliar with. So we went through a parade of contractors who came through. Some said, well, don't worry about it. You just need to clean this up. We can do it, $10,000. We saw all walks of life come through there and offer us their services. And then there's this one guy who finally came in who said, no, you can't do it like that. And he seemed to know all these regulations. And we thought, okay, well, here's an expert. He says, I got an architect. I can draw you plans. Everything will be groovy. Just put it in my hands. I got an expediter I work with. And he's hitting all the buzzwords, right? It's like, okay, I want to trust this guy. He knows more than I do. He knows how to get this done. So we signed a contract, a $20,000 construction contract. And at the end of it, we were supposed to have our CFO and be up and operating. So, if you're a contractor and this is all under your roof, you want to make as much profit as possible, right? So you cheap out when it comes to the architect. And by the time our plans were done, which was like, 2-3 weeks later, we had our initial set of plans. They went down to DCRA. We didn't hear anything for a while. I guess they had to schedule the expediter to expedite. And then we heard back that the plans weren't approved. And at the outset, this guy, we had asked him, all right, well, how long is this going to take? He said, probably 4 to 6 weeks. Seems like a pretty simple project. Well, it turned out to be change of use. So it was an industrial space that we wanted to change into retail. And I didn't know how to do that, and I came to find out that he didn't know how to do that either. All we had to guide us was this 10,000-page electrical code, which, I'm pretty good at reading, but to find out what you need to do from that, it's like, I don't know, grasping at straws. So anyhow, meanwhile, across the street, they're feeding the homeless out there every weekend. My manager's saying, okay, 4 to 6 weeks, well, we got to hire staff. You want me to get this thing off the ground, we got to have people here, we got to have products, so we got to have our fixtures, what we call fixtures, which are like the gondolas where we put the products. So we said, all right, well, we couldn't find anything commercially available that fit our needs, so we said, all right, we got the staff, we got our mechanics on board, we got our salespeople. We're not open yet. Let's just start building all the fixtures we need and everything. Come up with our assortment plan, order all the products, get them in. So meanwhile, we're going back and forth with the DCRA because our plans weren't up to snuff, and it took us 3 months or so to get our plans approved finally. And no fault of the DCRA. They got the code, like they're saying today. They try to protect everybody, provide a safe environment. It's just that we didn't know where to go to get an architect who's familiar with DC retail code. So I'm glad to hear that the small that's open up. That would have helped us tremendously back in 2010. So for future people coming in, I can't imagine how many people are like me who go into this. They blow through all their money and they don't come out with what they need, or by the time they come out with it, they've spent all their money and don't make it through their first year. Because we went through the dough. My partner still reminds me of that. So in late June, and this whole thing started in March, we got our plans approved. And then we're building out, gearing up for the inspection. And let me tell you something about these third-party inspectors. All right, I thought, all right, I'm paying this guy. They're going to make sure everything's easy for me, right? Well, no, they make their money by coming out on multiple visits and having you fix things. And each visit, they get to charge you. So they're not there to help you make your way through it. They're there to come out as many times as possible while they still have a live pulse. You know? So I don't know how we did it. You know, I was looking at the homeless guys across the street eating their lunch out there, and sometimes I'd go and get in the line because I figure I'd better make my inroads with those guys because that's where I might be. And it was looking like that. So eventually we got it all settled, but it was painful, and we're still paying the price. It's taken us years to recover from that. We're just recovering now. We got up, we got going, and then we were allowed to do what we're good at. But in the meantime, we spent close to $75,000 in payroll because we thought that we were going to be open a lot sooner and just completely miscalculated the thing. But there was no way to know. You want to open up a business and you got to change the use. What do you need to do? Well, hardly anybody in this town knows, and it's hard to find the people who do. So again, that's a great program. That's the Small Business Resource Center. So after a year and a half, the building sold, the economy came back around, and we were kicked out of our place, and I found myself having to go through this process again. And with what I had learned, I didn't use the third-party inspectors. Just went down to, I didn't even use an expediter. That whole concept to me is like, right. I just went down to the DCRA. They made it simple on me, and within a month of signing the lease, within 2 months, I was open and doing business in the next place, which has taken us to where we are. And we only were closed one day in that whole process. We got a much nicer space built out because it's a little smaller. And if you got to go through this, go through the DCRA. Don't forget about all the old stories you've heard about how things were in the 90s, and there's a good system there. Talk with these folks, and they'll help get you on your feet. So that's my story. I'm happy to answer any questions.